I'm Mike.
And I'm Adam.
And this is Stuff and Waffle. Two friends talking about stuff, and often as not, waffling with frequent reference to Bond cars.
It's been a pretty busy few weeks in terms of car news. We've been a bit slow on the uptake, to be honest. Various illnesses, cheeky bit of COVID.
It's been around, hasn't it? It's been around.
We're a bit late to the party, but I couldn't let it slide, this one.
Okay.
Because I'm sure you'll recall from a few weeks back, it was the LA car show.
It was.
And there were two announcements that are going to please me. One being the Cayman GT4 RS.
Oh, Porsche.
Yeah, funny that. And the Taycan GTS.
Yes. Well, we're not going to miss that, are we?
No. I thought we better cover at least those two. I've got a few other odds and sods vaguely related to it, so I thought, well, let's have at it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, two very interesting vehicles.
Yeah. What should we start with?
Let's be traditional, shall we? Let's start with the Cayman.
Okay. Yep. That's fine. Bit of internal combustion. Lovely.
Bit of internal combustion, then we'll move smoothly into the future.
Yeah. Well, why not?
Yes.
Yeah, I suppose then. So the GT4 RS being possibly the worst kept secret in recent times that it was coming, and there it is now. So
yeah, they didn't try and hide that, did they?
No. Very cool looking thing.
It is. Yeah, possibly the best looking Cayman thus far.
Yeah, perhaps not in RS form, I'd say. I think it looks purposeful, but I think if you're going to go for a current Cayman, you'd probably go. I'd go for GTS. I think.
Okay.
I think that's its current sweet spot. However, we'll keep on the GT4. You think, well, they've half nailed it, haven't they? That's going to sell like hotcakes in small numbers, but hotcakes.
Yes, hotcakes from just one small stand. But yes. It's I imagine it will be quite popular. Yeah.
Should we go through the headline stats?
Take us through the stats. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's have some numbers. Yeah.
So we're at almost 500 horsepower. I think it was 493. So pretty swift. Plenty of power there. And it's still the 4-litre naturally aspirated flat six, 9,000 RPM red line. Just that's going to be making all the happy noise, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
One thing worth noting: PDK only.
Well, now that will disappoint a certain group of people, won't it?
I expect so. I mean, especially considering the GT4, I'm sure you can get a manual of the variant just down. But I suppose it's all. The argument will be it's faster accelerating and such like. But
I suppose. Although something that's always been very much pitched as a driver's car, I think people will find that a little bit disappointing, perhaps. But it is what it is.
But I suppose it won't be like that massive bone of contention because it's not the 911.
It's not the 911, so emotions are not running as high. No.
Everyone's a little bit calmer.
Yeah, a little bit more willing to accept some differences with that. Yeah, if it's the 911, people are so precious about it. The Cayman, not so much. You can mess with that a bit, and they're not.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of room for manoeuvre, and there's an argument to say that PDK is progress, but I mean they're even saying I've seen many journalists saying the PDK, regardless of which Porsche it's in at the moment, if you pop it in auto and let the car deal with the shifts, you can't fault it, even if you're not fiddling with the paddles. The shifts
fair enough.
perfection, really. So it's
fair enough. Then
it's a difficult one, isn't it?
If even the professionals are saying actually this is as good as it can be, then yeah, maybe that's fair enough.
That's it. And in terms of the horsepower, we said it's nearly 500, so that's roughly 80 more than the standard GT4.
Okay, so there is a reason to have it.
Yeah, so there's a bit more oomph. They're saying it's stripped out and lightweight. I mean, if you take the GT4 PDK equivalent, it's 35 kilograms less, so it's not huge.
Yeah, there's not a lot in it, is there?
No. One thing they said, it was 23 seconds faster than the GT4 around the Nürburgring.
Yeah, I mean, Nürburgring stats are so. I mean, yeah, they're fun, aren't they? But they don't really mean anything.
They don't. I mean, I suppose. I mean, it was always going to get put around there. A German car. It's always going around. Yeah.
Oh, you'd expect that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's got the same similar swan neck rear wing that you see on the latest 911 GT3. And you could. I like that because it's got that racing derived heritage on it, because it's very reminiscent of the swan neck rear wings on the 911 RSR, the GT Le Mans variant ones. So I like that.
You know your stuff, don't you?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
I wouldn't have known that. Yeah.
The one that we'll have all seen, they've got a certain set of wheels on it, and they do look quite cool. Forged magnesium.
Yes, they do look very good. Yeah, very good.
They are an option, and they've been used on the car to promote it. They're as options go, they're enough up there price wise.
Well, you wouldn't accuse Porsche of not knowing how to charge for options, would you?
No. So if you decided that right, a GT4 RS is for me, and you've looked at the starting price and you think, yep, I'll accept that. Just for reference, the starting price is 108,370. So
quite a big number.
It's quite a big number, and then you think, oh, I'd quite like some forged magnesium wheels, please. You're going to need another £10,521.
Ooh, well, that's a bit gougy.
Yeah, you could go and buy an original Cayman with the price of your wheels.
You could, and some very nice wheels to go on it. Yes, you could.
Deary me,
that's a bit steep for a set of wheels. You've really got to want them, haven't you?
And to be honest, though, I bet people are going to put them on.
Oh, of course they are.
Yeah, it's going to be a drop in the ocean if you are generally in contention for buying one of these.
If you can afford that much car, yeah, you're not going to be too fussed about another 10k for the wheels, are you? Just going to add them on. Yeah, it's true.
You're just going to pop them on, and I suppose though, I think it comes down to now going, well, that's got to be the range complete in terms of Cayman.
Well, I would have thought, what else can they do with it?
That's it. It's not. It doesn't have that same lineage as the 911. They don't have. They don't have the hardcore turbo variants or anything like that. So I don't think we're going to get anything down that sort of line.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. And people, as we said, are not going to get upset if a particular version is not in the lineup like they would with the 911.
No,
people are not as precious about it. I think, like you say, that's probably enough.
Yeah, and I think the Cayman range is, like you said, they're not. It doesn't exactly match a 911 range, but they've certainly done their best for it, because you got the standard, you got the T, the S, GTS, GT4, and then GT4 RS. Now I think that's going to be it.
Quite a lot of numbers and letters going on. Yeah, it's the Cayman range. You sort of forget how many Caymans there are, don't you?
Yeah, I know I touched on it a little bit at the beginning there, but I genuinely think the sweet spot is the GTS.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's where you need to be.
Mm.
And
Do you think this one is a little bit too much?
I think for day-to-day use, I think that's where I'm coming from. If I was going to buy a Cayman to use daily, I would
Which
buy,
you'd have to.
yeah.
You couldn't
No,
blow that much money and not.
I'd be
No,
all in at that point.
yeah, you would. That's that. In fact, it's probably your only car.
Yeah. And you got to think that you're getting all of the nice bits without too many compromises on the GTS, because you're getting the 4-litre engine.
Yeah.
You can have a manual. It doesn't look utterly ridiculous.
Mm.
It's just I think it's the sweet spot. A manual GTS. Yeah, bit of that.
Yeah, it's a little bit calmer to look at, isn't
Mm.
it? It doesn't. It's not as leery as the four, and as you say, I think it would be easier to live with, and perhaps more in the spirit of what the Cayman was supposed to be. Um,
Yeah,
do you think
yeah.
the GT4? Do you think the GT4 moves it more in the way of the 911?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I still think.
You still think it's a distinctly different thing?
Yeah, I do think it's distinct enough to be different. Plus, it opens calling it the GT4 also suggests which class of racing they can go into with it as well. They can go into the GT4 racing, and
Yes.
that's also another avenue, which is it's quite a cutthroat sort of class of motorsport, because it's towards the lower end of GT racing, so it's perhaps not fully professional driving um, standards or anything like that. It's more your amateur drivers or your well-funded gentleman driver
Okay.
ragging around in the racing car that they've bought.
Yes. I
So
suppose that's
I think
yeah.
that's a nice way of, for these particular those top end ones to sort of stand on their own and not be compared too much with the 911.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Uh, I don't think people do they, particularly? I think it is seen as something very different.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you've obviously going to get the people going, well, can't afford a real Porsche, and like, right, okay, yeah, that's well done.
There is some of that. Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
that will happen.
how original.
Yeah, well done, you.
Mm.
But I think, if you were keen on doing track things, then yeah, by all means, go GT4 or RS if you're feeling really brave.
Yeah.
But I think if you want something for the road, and you might entertain the idea of a track day one day or very infrequently,
Or now and then.
GTS.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's my consumer advice then.
That's very good. Yes. We're going for a very particular section of the market there, but yes.
Yeah,
Very good. Very
if you
good
want
advice.
yeah,
Yes.
if you want a particular model, then that's the one. Yeah, you go for it.
Well, that's probably fair. That's probably fair.
Yeah.
It said I prefer the look of the GTS, I must admit.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's a cleaner design.
Oh,
Um,
definitely, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
But
Smart.
I commend them enormously for making the RS.
Mm,
I'm pleased that's the thing.
yeah. The Cayman's an interesting car, isn't it, really?
Mm.
Because you don't it's not because it's not the 911. The 911 is so it's become almost a well, it's such an icon, isn't it? It's almost it's become uh, such unobtainium as well, really, for a lot of people. And the Cayman is, a little bit. You can
Yeah.
get there. You can get there a bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, it's not beyond the realms, is it, that?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
no, got a bit of time for that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the past dealt with.
That is the past. Yes, and
So
now we
now,
have what Porsche are claiming is the future. Yes.
yes, and I'm gonna say it straight off. This is the one you want.
Well,
Right.
let's see.
No, it's fairly clear cut. So we've got the Taycan GTS. So it's bearing the same initials we've just been speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
Just for a bit of history, I do believe it stands for Gran Turismo Sport, and it was first put on the 904 Carrera GTS in 1963.
Very good.
So that's where that came from, I think. Just you might want to fact check me slightly on that, but I'm pretty sure that's it.
Liking the history there. Very good.
So it what it does is it pops into the Taycan range right where you'd expect it. Actually, if you're following the usual, particular, actually, if you're following the 911 nomenclature, it sits. So you've got your base level, you've got your 4S, GTS, Turbo, Turbo S.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, without having any of the sort of GT3s or anything like that, that's basically your sort of 911 range.
That's your basic. Your basic. Your basic 911. Yeah,
and that's it. Okay. Yeah, so they're following the same sort of range naming and numbering, which is handy. So
they are. I mean, putting turbo on the back of an electric car is slightly questionable, but be that as it may.
It's a bit odd, but it determines its place in the range.
I know why they've done it. It is a little bit peculiar. Yeah,
I'm happy with it because you know instantly where it is.
Well, it's history and tradition, isn't it? If you know your Porsches, you know where you are in it. Yes, it doesn't have a turbo. That's impossible. But it does help you place it in the range, I grant you.
You know it's the fancy one.
Yes. It doesn't actually mean turbo anymore. It's just
not at all. No, but we're happy enough.
Yeah.
So I mean, if we look, like we were mentioning the Cayman GTS, if we look at the 911 GTS as well, you kind of see it right in the middle of the range, and you think, well, what this is not entry level.
Mm.
This has been jazzed up a bit. So what you're actually getting, you're going to get a bit more driving experience. I mean, not saying the lower ones are bad or anything, but I'm just saying you're going to get an improved experience.
That's something that Taycan has been praised for, actually, is that it has retained the Porsche driving feel, even though it doesn't have the internal combustion engine. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. So having those three letters after its name are going to suggest that this is going to be a good driving car. This one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perhaps the most important thing is that there is a GTS Sport Turismo.
I was hoping you'd bring that up because there is, yes, which of course is in effect the estate version.
So that's it. There's no silly. They're not doing it like the Cross Turismo, which is still in the range. So they've got the 4 and the turbo in Cross Turismo. So that's that. In inverted commas, off road. It's got all the plastic,
not
slightly raised, but this GTS Sport Turismo has none of that. This is a proper.
No, I'm looking at a picture of it now. That's much cleaner.
Yeah, it's a proper estate car.
That is perfection. Absolute perfection.
That's the one you go and buy.
Yeah, it is. Well, we would both buy. If we were in the market, we would be drawn to the estate version, wouldn't we? I mean, both of us would do, because unlike the Tesla Model S, which of course you can't talk about the Taycan without referencing a Tesla Model S, which is a hatchback. The saloon version of the Taycan is actually a booted saloon, isn't it?
That's right.
Not a hatch. Whereas the estate is. So
that's the one, isn't it?
That is the one. Yes, I agree. That is the one you'd have. It's a pity the launch color seems to be this hideous red. But
Well, fortunately, you've got many color choices, so you're fine.
Many colors to choose from. Yes, but
Yeah,
that's lovely. Yes.
and just for reference, if you're gonna go and pick a Taycan, if you go in from the standard color range and don't go wild with the custom color, you're
Yes.
gonna want. Well, I'm gonna want the Mamba Green. That
Well, now yes, we've talked about that before, haven't we?
Oh,
Yes.
this is a new green. This one. This is.
Oh, it's that one.
Mm,
Yes. Okay. Yes. The Cross Turismo was available in that color.
yeah, that's.
Um,
It's a metallic. It's quite
they have
lovely.
done some very interesting colors in the Taycan range.
Mm.
Yes.
But yeah, that would be my choice. That particular green.
Oh, very good. Yes, I can't fault you there particularly. Yes.
Very good.
My word, that's a good looking car, isn't
It's
it?
good, isn't it? Yeah,
Mm,
most definitely.
it really is, and now electric. So let's get some stats here.
Ah, right. Okay.
What are we talking?
Right. So we are talking in terms of power uh, with the overboost enabled on it, which is a button to push somewhere. You're coming
Yes.
out at almost 600 horsepower,
Ooh.
0 to 62 in 3.7 seconds. So not
It'll
too
break
shabby.
your face.
Yeah.
No.
Range, as we like to say,
Important.
important.
Important. Yeah.
Anywhere, but depending on how you drive and what you're doing,
Of course.
between 263 and 304 mile range.
Is that the WLTP quoted?
I'm not entirely sure, actually.
I'd imagine it is. In which case,
Yeah,
you can knock between 30 and 50 miles off that in the real world.
that seems fair, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
and that
so.
is a 93.4 kilowatt hour battery.
Okay, that's very specific.
Yep, I pulled that off a fact sheet somewhere.
Okay, that's a big battery.
That's a fair
That's a
old
big
chunk.
battery, which would suggest, given the range quoted, that is very, very heavy.
I would imagine so.
Because Tesla are getting a lot more range out of a smaller battery in the Model S.
I suppose, mind you, they are probably a generation ahead in terms of battery, aren't they?
They are possibly more than that. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed, true. Yes,
I
yes,
mean,
they probably are.
but
Yeah.
not too shabby. You could work with
No,
that. You could work with that, like you say, if you knock off sort of, you said 30 to
30
50
to 50
miles.
miles again with all the criteria that all
So
the
if you said sort of in some ballpark of 250-mile range, you could work with that on a long journey.
you could work with that. It's not class leading, but you could work with that. Yeah. I think anything over 200 miles you can work
Yeah,
with, to
you
be honest.
can. And
Yeah.
while it isn't class leading, like you say, in terms of range, I think it's probably class leading in terms of driving experience.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I
So
think that's fair.
swings and
Yeah.
roundabouts. It's dual motor, one motor on the front axle and one on the rear.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. So four-wheel drive, presumably.
yeah, and that starting price is £104,990.
Ooh, cheaper than a Model S Plaid.
Yep, and
Yes.
perhaps not the same performance statistics, but you do have an estate, and it looks bloody good.
It does.
Mm.
And it's a Porsche, so they'll have screwed it together properly. Although I have read online that the battery failure rate on Taycan range is quite high. Um,
Really?
there's quite a lot of them going back.
Okay.
Yes, I have read that on more than one UK electric car forum, group.
Hmm.
That yeah, they are suffering quite a high number of battery pack failures that are having to go back for replacement. But um, that is not unique to Porsche. Um,
No, I
and as you
suppose.
said, most manufacturers are working with a sort of tech generation behind where Tesla are. But that's where Tesla excel, is their battery and drivetrain. It's the rest of the car where Porsche will be miles ahead. So
I think moving forward, I think the saving grace for Porsche and their electric tech is being in the same group as Rimac.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt, is it? No,
No.
that's not going to hurt. Rimac really know what they're doing. Yeah,
Especially at this sort of performance end of things.
yeah,
If you're
very
gonna,
much so. Yeah, very much
yeah,
so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is lovely, and those stats are pretty good. Yeah, pretty
mm,
good.
yeah, I'd be
And
happy with that.
range is so flexible anyway. It depends how you drive it, where you drive it, time of year, weather, this how heavy your right foot is. I mean, you drive a petrol car like your hair's on fire, you're going to use more fuel than not. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's it's going to be like it's the one you want.
yeah, it is. Mainly actually because it's an estate,
Yeah, and
a very fast estate car. Yeah, with all the Porsche dynamics. I'm so glad they've done an estate car. They
yeah,
haven't they haven't gone with an SUV like everyone else.
I mean, they will do one, they will, but I'm glad
Oh,
it's
of
not the
course
first
they
port
will.
of
Yeah,
call. I
yeah.
tend to,
I'm not because it is with so many of them.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, we've expressed our disappointment with Jags being a bloody SUV to start with.
yeah, we have.
Dreadful,
Yeah,
and they're suffering enormously anyway. So that's
they are. Again, the failure rate on their tech is very high. Um, and the charging options are so limited. I mean, to be fair, they are with the Taycan as well if you want to charge it at its full rate.
mm,
But that is improving all the time.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, there was that very very disappointing fact there that I told you about the other day that I can't remember if it was last month or the month before uh, that Polestar outsold Jaguar.
yeah, that's bad, isn't it?
I think, I mean, we know what Polestar is, and so do the car community, but
Yeah,
perhaps the average user does not.
they maybe don't. No, they maybe don't because they
But
don't make a lot of it.
no, and you think your average man on the street would know what a Jaguar is,
Yes.
but they ain't buying them.
No, well, they make less and less sense because they weren't groundbreaking when they came out, and they haven't really developed it. Yeah, they've made the headlights look a bit different and twiddled around with the bumpers, but the tech inside it is exactly the same as it was when it launched. Um,
And you got to think we've not in terms of the. I know that they say they're going fully electric, but
well,
all is quiet in terms of their remaining range as well. We
well, it is, and they cancelled the XJ.
They cancelled that. I've heard nothing of late about any updates, changes to XE, XF, F types. Nothing. There's nothing.
Nope, nope, nothing at all. And I think it's because they can't afford it.
It's, it, it's
I don't think they've got the money to take anything else into production. I think that's why the XJ was cancelled.
so close to being finished, though.
Well, apparently it was. It was ready.
Yeah,
Some press had already even seen it. It was a fantastic thing, apparently. But no, right on the eve of it being launched.
no
No, we're not
sense.
going to do that. It doesn't make. I don't know why you'd spend millions developing the thing and then throw it away. Surely the bulk of your cost is done at that point.
You'd have thought.
Although, as Elon said, it's easy to build a prototype. Mass production is the tough bit.
I
So,
suppose, yeah, and mind you, you don't. They may well have seen the car, but for all they know, it could have been massively flawed. Something didn't work
oh,
properly.
held
It's
together with duct tape and,
yeah.
only went 10 miles of range or something. Yeah, I mean, you don't know, do you? Um,
Hmm.
the iPace has been, the iPace won so many awards, but I never quite understood why.
Are you suggesting they may not have been honourable victories?
Oh, I don't think we should go there. Um, controversial.
Oh God!
Um, EV of the year 2020 and things like that. I'd like to see the criteria
A bit of a
for
bloody
that.
stretch, that isn't it?
Well, look at the other EVs that were launched in 2020.
It's
Um,
just yeah,
come on.
yeah. The winner should have been something from Korea. We're honest.
I think it probably should. Yes, I think it probably should. I didn't get that at all.
Mm.
Why it was so low, and it won all the bench tests in all the magazines, well, all the British ones anyway.
It's
And you
just
just think, are you sure? Have you actually driven it?
that's the thing, isn't it? It doesn't make a lot of sense because it's a lot of money and the
It
tech's not
is.
brilliant. So
It is a lot of money.
it's the worst of all of the different worlds.
For that money, you can do a lot better
Mm.
from several manufacturers. As you mentioned, the Koreans, which are very much at the forefront, Tesla, of course. The Audis, they're
Okay,
not.
they're getting better, but it's still the price point with those, isn't it? The
It's the
issue.
price point and the range.
Yeah.
They're too heavy because they're making it out of steel rather than aluminium. The e-tron range, they're too heavy to be able to get much range out of their big. But they've got 90 kilowatt hour batteries, but they struggle to do 200 miles range, and it's because of the weight.
Yeah.
It's just too heavy to be efficient.
It's not. It's not ideal, but again, they're in the same group as Porsche,
Yes,
so they're all
it will
going to
improve.
get better at the same time, aren't they?
They are, whereas Jaguar on
They've
their own with what they can find down the back of the sofa, um,
it's not going to get it
and
done, is it?
and having cancelled their flagship product already,
Mm.
yeah, you do wonder how this is going to get done, don't you?
It's not, is it? That's the thing.
It's probably not, no, and that's the problem, isn't it? Are we gonna find ourselves in 2030 and Jaguar have got one product that they can sell
If they're there at all,
if they're there at all? Yeah,
which is a sad, sad state of affairs to be thinking like
that
that.
would be very sad. I mean, Aston Martin are another one who've cancelled their electric project. Yes, they're doing classic conversions, but I forget what it was called now. I have actually seen it.
Oh, it was
The
the Rapid E or
That's
something like
it,
that one.
the
Yeah,
Rapide.
that's
Yes,
the
which was a lovely looking thing. I
mm.
saw it at Silverstone, but they cancelled it shortly after that. And you think, oh, this is not the way to go.
Well, they've got some weird finances going on there, haven't they? Because they've got what's his chops, mad eyebrows, Lawrence Stroll,
Yeah.
who's um, well, a questionable individual at the best of times,
Mm,
without
yeah.
without digging ourselves too much of a hole. But
Yes.
you got to think in terms of their current range, going DBX, great. Why are Aston Martin making it? Pointless. I know you like it, but you don't even say anything. Um, uh, the Vantage, uh, the latest variant, hasn't got brilliant press.
No, it hasn't.
The latest variant, because Aston Martin are sharing roles in Formula One with Mercedes to supply safety cars and such like, because well, Aston Martin are slightly in bed with Mercedes anyway in terms of borrowing engines and things from AMG.
Yes. Yeah.
They've made an F1 variant of the Vantage, which everyone said, "Oh, that's what it should have been. Why have we had it for several years now?" Was just something a bit lackluster.
Yeah.
The styling's always challenged me because the outgoing Vantage was brilliant. I loved that. It
Yeah.
had so many different variants, whether it was absolutely sort of base level V8 Vantage or the ridiculous V12 ones.
Yeah.
They were brilliant. They looked cool,
Yeah. They
sounded
did.
good,
Yeah.
supposedly drove quite well as well.
By all accounts. Yeah.
Yeah, and you think, well,
The
that's
F1 edition that's a good looking thing, isn't it?
yeah, I don't mind a bit of that.
Yeah.
I'm not gushing about it, but it's certainly an improvement over the standard.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
mm.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
But
it's hard to know where they're gonna go, isn't it?
mm,
But they've got to do something. The clock is running now, isn't it, on all these manufacturers? Um,
yeah,
because they're not gonna be able by law, they're not gonna be able to sell cars like that in 9 years' time.
no, they're going to have to do
It's not
something.
very long.
No, And you think,
And I
well,
think the only thing they can do is partner up with other people.
yeah, I suppose that's why they've already started with Mercedes, haven't they? So they've not really spent a huge amount of money on developing their own drivetrains now.
No, because they're going to buy them in.
So I mean, in terms of partnering up, the Mercedes electric stuff, not too bad. The trouble is they
No,
seem to package it in hideous vehicles.
that is the problem. The new S-Class, whatever they're calling it, at the EQS, because it's always EQ, isn't it, on the
That's
Mercedes
right.
range? Very impressive tech, but my word, it's a weird looking thing.
Yeah, they are challenging looks. Yes.
That's very strange. Yeah, the EQ, is it the EQC? The big SUV, really
Yeah.
big SUV. That's not so bad, but it's a huge SUV. Um, the thing I give Mercedes credit for, and we've touched on this before, is the deal they've done where if you buy an electric Mercedes, you are instantly a member of all the charging networks right across Europe.
That's it, isn't it?
Um,
The Mercedes Me, wasn't it?
Mercedes Me, that's right, and you can just wave your card that they give you at any charging station that is compatible with your car, and it'll just take care of the payment and the membership, and all of that is all done by Mercedes in the background. That's very good.
Yes.
That is good enough to make people consider their cars, I think.
That's on a sort of par with the ease of Tesla, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, absolutely, it is. Indeed, and the supercharger network is a big reason why a lot of people buy a Tesla, and I think that deal will be a big reason why a lot of people will go for the Mercedes, because you can't, at the moment, you can't buy an electric car without thinking about charging.
Yeah, I mean, more so. I think perhaps where we live as well. It's
Yeah,
dreadful for.
it is dreadful. Yeah, I mean, we're perhaps something that was pointed out to me when I bought my Tesla was that actually, because that was my first point was, oh, well, I'm not sure this is really going to work because there's no charging anywhere near where I live. If you've got a car that does 200, 300 miles range, why do you care that there's no charging where you live? You'll charge it at home.
That's it. As long as you've got a half decent charger at home, because you
Yeah,
had yours is 7 kilowatt at home, is
7
it?
kilowatts, which is pretty standard. Yeah, that's
Which
right.
is fine if you plug in when you get home, and then when you get up in the morning, it's fair game then, isn't it?
Oh, no bother. Yeah, absolutely. You'll easily do that
Mm.
overnight. Yeah, absolutely. I think that gave it a range of about 5 to 7 miles of range for every hour it's plugged in.
Okay.
So yes, that's really, really slow. But whose car isn't parked all night? So it's fine.
That's it. I mean, the only thing you're ever likely to do is nip to a shop of an evening, perhaps, and that's about it, isn't it?
Yes, and that's about it. That's fine. And as long as there's decent charging options for your car on the motorways, and it'll do 200-300 miles range, that's fine. But that's the one issue with coming back to the Taycan. It's 800-volt charging. We haven't really got any yet. I mean, we've got a few.
Yeah, you
There's the
probably count on
Ionity
your hand,
network.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. There's the Ionity network, which is very reliable, but we don't have that many yet, and it's also the most expensive network. I think at one point they were like 70p a kilowatt, something like that. I mean, really, really expensive electricity.
They've properly ramped that up, haven't they?
Yeah, they really did. They were criticised, but I think they have since brought it down. I don't think it was that price for long. I think it was pointed out to them that I don't think that's going to work. People
It's not.
actually have quite a good idea of what electricity costs.
Mm,
Unlike petrol and diesel, where it's all tax, at least it is in this country, people have a very good idea of what price per kilowatt is. They're not
yeah.
going to be taken for a ride like that.
No, they'll go somewhere else. There is just about enough choice if you're willing to sacrifice a bit of speed of charging.
That's what you do with the Taycan at the moment. You will have to accept that you're not going to get the charging speed numbers that the car is capable of because we simply don't have the network for it.
No, you're probably. I mean, the most I'm thinking the most sort of common charger that you're going to be plugging it into on a journey is probably something like a 75 kilowatt, something like that.
Yeah, 50 or 75 at the moment. Yeah, either the old rapid rate, which would be 50, 75. There's quite a few 110s getting around now. Generally, you're going to be about that sort of amount. Yeah. So way, way less than the car is capable of, but that's just how it is at the moment.
Yeah.
But what you are buying is probably the best electric driver's car currently on the market.
Yeah, I would go with that, I
think so. The most rewarding drive. If you want the absolute best range, you're going to buy the Tesla.
Yeah.
If you want out and out practicality and solid build, you're probably going to buy something Korean.
Yep.
If you want driving dynamics and you're not so worried about range or speed of charge, you're going to go for the Porsche.
That's it. I mean, that's not too shabby, is it? I mean, if you took the Taycan, for instance, and said, right, well, where we are in the world, and said, well, I need to drive to London. Assuming you left home with a full charge, that's one stop. That's your lot, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. As I say, anything over 200 miles, I think at the moment is a workable amount. And as long as there's some decent rapid chargers on your way that are going to be reliable and are a reasonable speed, yeah, you can make it work.
And
absolutely.
I mean, in terms of desirability as well, it's right up there for me.
Yeah.
I just think it's tantalizingly good in terms of visuals. But everyone's rating the way it drives. The interior is nothing but Porsche. It looks like a space age 911 interior.
It does, doesn't it? They've updated the 911 interior. I thought that, yeah. They've fallen down the trap of. I say fallen down the trap. I don't know that it is a trap, but they've gone the direction of multiple small screens rather than one big one. And it's about half and half at the moment in the sort of EV world. Half the manufacturers are following the sort of minimalist Tesla style of everything being on the huge screen in the middle of the dashboard, and that's it. Or the other way, Jaguar, Porsche, of 2 or 3 separate screens and some mechanical buttons.
Yeah, it's nice that I think a bit of tactile doesn't hurt. I don't think.
Well, I think it's more than doesn't hurt. I think it's safer. I mean, having driven a Model S for 4 years, not having any mechanical buttons at all, except the one that opens the glove box, and you don't need that day to day. Your attention is drawn away from the road for longer than if you had a mechanical button.
Yeah,
you can't feel your way to a button.
No,
you have to look at it. You have to look at it. You've got no choice.
Otherwise you're just jabbing away at nothing, aren't you?
Yeah, or worse, you're telling it to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, some mechanical buttons for the right functions, I think, are a good thing. Putting everything in the software, and I know why they do it. As a software developer, I understand why they do it.
Yeah.
But as a driver, you do want the most frequent things to be able to be operated without looking at it. Now they all say, well, you've got voice control. Yeah, that doesn't really work.
Oh,
it doesn't for me anyway.
It doesn't. I mean, we say that we have. I can't say her name because there's one in this room.
You'll kick off.
Yes. And the Amazon lady works flawlessly indoors. Time, honest.
Every time, exactly what you want. Yeah,
imagine that in the car.
Well, I've had it. My Tesla never understood me, ever. In 4 years, it never understood me. I never ever got it to play the music I wanted, or bring up the feature that I wanted. It never ever understood me. And I don't think I've got a particularly strong accent one way or another, but I think it was it was just tuned to the American accent, and that's it. And
Yeah,
just
it's not.
didn't understand anything else.
It's not brilliant, is it? No,
No,
no.
I
That's
don't like voice control. I don't have Siri enabled on any of my Apple devices. I don't like voice control. I just don't.
no.
I
I
don't
mean,
like talking to devices. I want to push a button. So
that's it.
I think the mix that they've gone for there, and I don't know which controls in the Taycan are mechanical and which are software, but some mechanical buttons for the most frequently used features, I think are a good idea. And I don't think it's a backward step.
Not at all. No, I think it went. I'm hoping that everyone's realised that it perhaps went somewhat too far in the way of
Well,
touchscreens.
Tesla are resolutely not going back to mechanical buttons. I mean, they can't really now because they've obviously already designed the cars, and there's nowhere for any of the buttons to go. And Elon says you don't need them because you can, you've got voice control. But it probably understands him. It doesn't
Yeah.
understand me.
No, it's like you say, it's hard enough when you're sat on your own sofa yelling at her to turn it down or turn something
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
When you're trying to actually concentrate on the task of driving, you don't want to be having an argument with an inanimate object.
You don't. I think certainly stuff that controls heating and air conditioning should be mechanical buttons.
Yeah, some
Um,
volume controls, things like that.
Things like that, things that you are going to want to operate whilst the vehicle is in motion, I think need to be
That's it.
mechanical.
Like you
Yeah.
say, yeah, your heating, cooling, demisting, make the noise stop, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And of course, I mean, I found it with the Model S, whether it is the case for other electric cars or not, I don't know. It did have a tendency to steam up the windows more than any other car I've ever had at the drop of a hat. Now, I don't know if this is because electric cars use different air conditioning systems. They're not belt driven like in most cars because there is no belt to drive
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
It's a completely different thing, and a lot of them now are using heat scavenging systems and things like that, and they don't. It would clear it quickly, but it would steam up at the drop of a hat. I mean, within seconds, you can have no visibility.
Was that
Um,
in any particular sort of weather conditions, or just?
yeah, it tended to be in colder, rainier conditions where there's a lot more moisture around. And I've heard other people say this about their electric cars, and not just Teslas, that they can steam up really, really quickly.
I wonder
Um,
if it's anything to do with the fact that in your normal car, you've obviously got quite a lot of residual heat from the front end.
yes, yes,
But
that's
on
blowing
your
through all the time.
yeah, but
Yeah,
on your
yeah.
electric, you do not. So that some of that
Mm.
would naturally seep up towards the cabin and
Maybe that's
windscreen.
it. There is no heat being generated by anything. Any
Mm,
heat that you get, it has had to make
that's
um,
right. Yeah.
on its own. There is no heat coming from just using it. So
Mm.
yeah, maybe that's it. As I say, certainly in the Model S, it would clear quickly, but you had to find the button to do that in the software.
Yeah, which,
And if
like you say, if it did it that quickly,
yes,
you're going to run into problems
so
there.
you're driving along, within seconds you've lost all visibility, and then you've got to find the button on the screen to clear it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, yeah. As I say, I'm not. Yeah, mm,
Mm,
issues there. So, but again, things like that will get sorted out in time. This is
yeah,
all. We forget how new all this tech still is.
yeah. I think we've had our toe long enough in the water for enough people to go. Actually, you know what? A button is pretty good.
Yeah, and some
Mm.
manufacturers are doing that, and some aren't. But I applaud Porsche for doing that, and I think that's a brilliant looking thing. Like you say, certainly the Sport Turismo version is the one you'd want.
Yep.
That is absolutely stunning. Not in that horrible red, but it is absolutely. There's a very deep dark blue that they do it in that I like as well.
Oh, there is. It's I think the one you're thinking of is, oh God, I can't remember the name of it offhand. It's Gentian, something like that. I want to
I'm
say,
not sure. I'm
but I
not
know
sure
the
what
one
it
you
is.
mean. But yeah,
Yeah,
good color, metallic,
yeah,
very nice.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely stunning. It is a really good looking car.
yeah.
It looks like it's from the future.
Mm.
It really does have a look. If I was going out with a slug of money to buy a car like that, it would be a very tough battle for me between that and a Model S. Don't know which would win at the end of the day.
Mm.
But the fact that you can get that effectively in estate form, although they're not calling it that, yeah,
Yeah,
I do know quite a few people on the Tesla owners group who have moved from a Model S to a Taycan. So it
interesting.
is Porsche are taking customers from Tesla.
I suppose though, if you're in that price bracket and you think, well, I'm getting quite a driver's car, and like we said, the build quality is going to be a bit better,
Build quality is going to be a bit better.
but you just got to make that range and charging sacrifice. That's the only thing.
That's the thing at the moment.
Yeah.
At the moment, Porsche's battery tech will improve, and the charging networks are improving as we speak. So that will get better. Tesla excel with battery, motors, and software.
Yeah.
Porsche excel everywhere else. So
Yeah.
it really depends what your priorities are, doesn't it?
This is true. So, well, there
Yeah.
we go then. So, summary wise on that, then, if we're going to buy an internal combustion Porsche, we're going to buy a Cayman GTS. But if it's electric, we're going to have a Taycan GTS Sport Turismo.
Sport Turismo, definitely
So,
not the saloon,
no,
definitely the
so
estate. Yeah.
GTS all round, regardless of what you're buying.
Fine conclusion there. Good consumer advice.
Yeah, I think so. Yep. You watch it. Everyone's going to be dashing out now off the back of that.
Oh, I expect we'll get a call from Porsche tomorrow offering us some commission on that.
Oh God, it's got to come soon. I've done nothing but plug them.
You have been working hard on that. They really should be doing something for you by now. Yes. Well, I think that's probably enough of that for this week. Check us out on all the various social medias and things. Thank you very much for listening.